Hey everybody, this is Steven from PopCultureMaven.com. We're back with this week's new comic book reviews. So, good news is the microphone worked out. Thank you, Debbie, for checking on that. She's a great friend. She gave me this awesome Be Kind statue. So it seems to be working out pretty well. So hopefully I'll be able to use this microphone at this year's San Diego Comic-Con, which is next week. I will be there all 5 days, and hopefully I'll be able to get some good panel recordings for everybody who cannot make it to the show because it's hard to get into. But anyway, so that's thankfully the microphone's working out well, recorded fine, sounded okay. That's a good thing. Not a very big week, kind of a smaller week. Next week will probably be a bit bigger because of Comic-Con. There's always stuff that tends to come out that week. But there's a couple things, there's a couple hardcovers, but there was something I neglected to mention last week. I really want to point it out. Michael Zulli sadly passed away. This is probably his most well-known work, Puma Blues. He was a really absolutely brilliant artist. He was known, he did Sandman. That was probably his most famous work. He did the last story arc, for the regular book. And then, he also did Alice Cooper's Last Temptation with Neil Gaiman. Probably his most famous thing that was never published was he penciled the issue that Rick Vetch storyline was leading up to where Swamp Thing met Jesus. DC pulled the plug on it. I don't know if he finished the whole issue, but he did pencil at least most of the issue. So that's kind of a weird footnote, but he passed away, I believe last week. So, that's very sad news in the comic industry. And he was a really great talent. If you can find the, Puma Blues, collection, it's a really, really amazing book. He was just such a great artist. Definitely look up his work and definitely check it out. Now there's a couple of, hardcovers. They came out last week, but unfortunately, my comic shop, it wasn't their fault. The box with these in it got lost. Thankfully they came in this week. So first we have, the Batman and Robin, Adventures Omnibus. It's a really big book. It's not quite as big as the Batman Adventures, which was the first one that came out, which was really amazing. So, there's a lot of creators, but the main creators are Ty Templeton, Paul Dini, Hilary J. Batter, and Rick Burchett. There's a bunch of other creators, but those are the ones that did the most, writing and art on the books. I'm a really huge fan of those books. Hopefully maybe they'll, after this one, they'll do a collection of the more recent stuff. I think they've collected most everything. It's just the more recent ones, that they haven't. So, maybe they could do the recent ones and also maybe, do Mad Love or something. Although I think Mad Love was printed in the first one. But anyways, if you're a fan of Batman, the animated series, definitely check that out. And then, also, a Mighty Marvel Team Up Spider-Man Cosmic Chaos by Mike, Malik, came out, and it's a real blast. It's guest stars Guardians of the Galaxy, and it's a lot of fun. And there's a little cameo by Jeff. It's Jeff. It's always great to have Jeff, show up in those books. But I really, the stories are a lot of fun. They're definitely aimed at a bit younger reader, but I really love Malik's art style. It's really, really wonderful. And, it's really, it's well worth checking out. It's really, just pick it up. It's a really great book. So let's get to this week's books. First up, we have Namor #1, written by Jason Aaron, with artwork by Paul Davidson and Alex Lynn. So Paul Davidson does the present artwork, and then Alex Ling does the past artwork. I had to look up to see which one did which, because they don't really mention it. The premise is that Namor's locked up in the Sea Cage prison. And, I don't know why. And, so we find out, because there's an assassination attempt on him, that there's a war going on to take over the throne, and there's seven seven people trying to get the throne. So they sent these mercenaries to try to kill Namor. And so it kind of flips between that and the present and the past of Namor becoming, the king of the seven seas. And so that's kind of an interesting to kind of learn when he was younger and stuff like that. That I don't know that those type of stories have ever been told, but that was for me, one of the more interesting parts. Once again, this is kind of a setup. I wasn't necessarily overwhelmed with it because you kind of don't know. I don't know why he's in prison. There's really no explanation for that. Maybe Aaron will explain that down the road. It's just like he turned himself in. We know that, but beyond that, there's really not a huge explanation for it. It's kind of okay. I mean, the art, both artists did a really nice job. Davidson, once again, does the present stuff, and it's, it's really nice. But I really did like Lynn's artwork on the past. It had a really neat, part of it was also the coloring. The coloring was a little bit different to kind of show it's the past. The art was nice and everything. I like the story, just didn't quite love it, but it's also kind of a setup issue. So we'll kind of see where it goes in the second issue, see where Aaron takes it. But I think it's worth looking at. Just, once again, be cautious because it's very exposition heavy. So next up, we have the Powerpuff Girls #1, written by Kelly Thompson with artwork by Paulina Ganshu. If you're like me, you're a huge fan of the PPG, Powerpuff Girls. Little note of history. The original short that Craig McCracken did at Cal Arts they were originally called the Whoop-Ass Girls. Well, that, you can't really sell that to, network television, basically. The best thing about it is, while I was reading it, I totally imagined all the original voice actors, and then the just the feel of it. That's the thing. Thompson really nailed. It was like an episode that was in comic form. That was perfect. The basic story is that him has created this fantastic Destiny robot, and each girl gets a different destiny, so him can take over the city of Townsville. And so Bubbles becomes like a rabbit, and with she loves all the creatures. Blossom becomes a noir detective, and then Buttercup becomes a luchadora. And it's a real blast. Thompson really nails the script. Ganshu's artwork just oozes the original look of the show, which is absolutely perfect. I really had a blast with this, and it's a great one and done story, which I think is really good because most of the episodes were one and done. So I think it was really smart to do it that way. I really enjoyed it. If you're a fan of Powerpuff Girls, sure, we'd always like, new animated episodes, but once again, Thompson and Ganshu really capture the perfect feel of that show. And I loved it. Definitely a big win this week if you're a Powerpuff Girls fan. Next up, we have Wonder Woman #11, written by Tom King, with artwork by Tony S. Daniel. And then the backup, World's Finest Part 8, written by Tom King, with artwork by Belen Ortega. So what this is an absolute power tie-in. So the good news is that these tie-ins are more kind of side stories, but after reading, Absolute Power last week, I don't feel the need that you have to read these, this storyline going into this. Now, if you're a regular Wonder Woman reader, obviously I think you need to have any of these tie-ins for the regular books. I think you're going to need to understand what, at least read the premise of Absolute Power. But I think once you've done that, you can just hopefully, fingers crossed, that you can kind of stick with the main story and not all these little side things. That being said, so what it is okay, so we have Detective Chimp, Shazam, Mary Marvel, Madame Xanadu, John Constantine, Inspector, and of course Diana. They're playing cards because what it is in Absolute Power is that Amanda has convinced the public that the heroes are a threat. And so while they're playing cards, one of the Amazo robots that she has sent to get the powers from all these heroes comes in and crashes, and they basically fight the robot. So, and of course it's going to continue in one of the spin-off books, but it was a nice story. Once again, you can't really blame King. He's at the mercy of doing this crossover thing. I think it works. I enjoyed the story. It's kind of a departure from the regular storyline, but and Tony Daniels' artwork is really, really nice. It's fine for what it is. It's a tie-in issue. It's an okay story. Once again, not King's fault. The backup, The World's Finest, by King and Ortega, is really fun. So John Damian and Trinity go to a Black Canary concert, and she's like the super fan. She's like crazy. And what it is John knows her like agent, or knows her. They get front row seats. And so Trinity's like flipping out the whole concert, like, oh my God, it's like she's seeing the Backstreet Boys type thing. Or Taylor Swift or whatever. It's like going to a Taylor Swift concert. And so Damien's like the whole time, this sucks. She's, she's just an average singer, blah, blah, blah. And then he totally falls in love with her. He starts singing the songs and everything. It's hilarious. I really love what King and Ortega are doing. The expressions that Ortega does on, especially Trinity's face when she's like flipping out at the concert, is just, I love her artwork, and she is just really just nailing this. They are going to actually do a one-shot collecting all these backups. That's coming out, I think, like in September, I believe. September, October. But these are a lot of fun. They really add a lot to the overall. They're very different from the main story, but it's kind of a nice, breather from the originals, or from the main story. So, definitely, I really love Wonder Woman, even with this tie-in. I still think it's well worth picking up. Next up, we have Moon Knight Zero, written by Jed MacKay, with artwork by Alessandro Cappuccio. So, this is a, primer for, I guess they're rebooting Moon Knight again. Marvel loves to reboot stuff. So, the only problem I have is for, basically what this is it's one page mostly of like, oh, here's this character, this is so-and-so, this is so-and-so. So basically it's not really even a story. It's more of like a primer, and the problem I ultimately have with it is this is something you should be giving away or, selling for $1. It is certainly not worth $5, and that is not anything against the creative team. It's basically like, just telling, okay, this character is this and this and this. It's an entire just recap setup for the old news series. And, the art's nice and everything, but they're kind of just they're all splash pages for the most part. And it's just, honestly, this is like I said, either a giveaway or like $1 or something. And this is just, it's kind of embarrassing because this is not something that's worth $5. And once again, this has nothing to do with the creative team. This is all on Marvel. This is just, I can't recommend it for $5. It's just not worth it. It's not even you read anything. It's just like, yeah, it's not good. Definitely skip it this week. Next up, we have Paranoid Gardens #1, written by Gerald Way and Sean Simon, with artwork by Chris Weston. So what this story is, so it's kind of it's a nursing home, and there's this nurse, Lou, who works there, but we find out that she's kind of a resident. And what it is she has no memory like before she showed up. But there's some sort of secret, that she has, which we don't know about the secret. And so what this is, it's like a nursing home for humans, aliens, ghosts, and superheroes. And so what it is the superhero, kind of a Superman type character, comes in, and he says that he knows Lou. But Lou, once again, she has no memory of pre-coming here. So that's, so obviously it's, he knows something about her, but he's gone crazy and shooting heat vision and blowing up the place. And it's really an interesting story. It's a really neat setup. I mean, obviously, if you're a fan of Way's Umbrella Academy. It's kind of, I think it's in the similar vein. I mean, or even his Doom Patrol and the Young Animal universe. He has a very eclectic style in writing. But I did like it, and him and Simon really it's really intriguing. Like, you don't quite know what's going on, and there's a fair amount of exposition, but you're like intrigued with what this mystery of Lou and everything. So I really like this story, and Weston's artwork is really nice. It really seals the deal. He draws aliens, ghosts, and humans like really well. So I really like this. This was definitely a surprise this week. So I think it's well worth picking up. Definitely check it out. Next up, we have Fishflies #7, written and drawn by Jeff Lemire. So this is the big finale, and I'll try to dance around to explain without giving too much away. So Fanny and the Bug have kind of gone, I guess you could almost say, to like another dimension. So Officer Donnie is still looking for Franny and trying to figure out, what's going on, because the Bug is like the guy who shot the kid. The boy's in a coma. And so what really this issue is about Bug fixing things. And so the ending goes back to the beginning, and that's all I'm going to say. And I've really liked this story a lot. I'm a big fan of Jeff Lemire's, and I just think this book was really amazing. Now I know, for a lot of people, his artwork runs, hot or cold. You either kind of like it or you don't. But I thought this was a beautiful story. The artwork was amazing. I really fell in love with Franny. And, I think the interesting thing is, it's kind of a story about, kind of the gray area of things, where, even though, Bug, he accidentally, he was robbing the store, but he didn't mean to shoot the kid. And I think it's one of those things that the whole story is kind of about gray areas where it's not really easy to define good and evil per se. And I really like that part of the story. That was really amazing. So, I know it's going to be hard with 7 issues. It's going to be tough to find the previous 6 issues, but I know that they're going to do, hopefully they'll do a hardcover, but they will reprint this for sure in a trade. And so I think it's well worth checking out. I'm a big fan of Lemire, and this was really, really good. Next up, we have Dark Knights of Steel, Allwinter #1, written by Jay Kristoff with artwork by Terso. So this is kind of a spin-off of Dark Knights of Steel. The thing that now it's officially an Elseworlds title, which really Dark Knights of Steel was an Elsewhere title. So it's a different take on DC heroes and villains. And so what it is Vandal Savage is kind of, his army has pretty much taken over, and him and Killer Frost are like, king and queen basically. And so Deathstroke is like he's hired mercenary. And so he sends him on a mission with Killer Frost to go find, who he finds out his ex-wife, Adeline, to take him out or take her out. Now, why he wants to take her out, we don't know. There is a secret with him and his ex-wife. I'm not going to give that away. It's really interesting. It's a great setup. I like the fact that Terso's art is black and white, and I don't want to say any more, but there's a reason for just being black, white, and gray. And the color apparently is going to play an important part going down the road. So that's all I'll say on that. I really like this. I was very impressed. I really enjoyed the Dark Knights of Steel, and what I liked about this is that Kristoff's story is really good. Like, you don't need to have read the previous Dark Knights of Steel. This totally stands on its own. You just have to know that this is just a different play on DC heroes and villains. That's all you really need to know. And it's kind of a medieval, kind of period. So that's very easy to figure out. I really enjoyed this. I really like this. Once again, the story was really solid. The artwork was amazing. And I think it's well worth checking out. Next up, we have Destro #2, written by Dan Waters, with artwork by Andre Bresson. Now, I wasn't really overwhelmed with the first issue, but I will say, the second issue didn't, it is better than the first. I don't think the first issue was terrible. It was just it was very bland. And once again, after Transformers, Void Rivals and Scarlet, it just didn't quite have that thing that clicked for me. Now, I'm not, it might have been just me. I don't know. But, so this issue is really about Zemmot and Tomax. They're all, them and Destro basically are arms dealers, and they're kind of fighting each other to win the king of the weapons, manufacturers. And so they basically, this issue, they're kind of going after each other. They send troops to each other, and it's kind of a stalemate. And so they end up meeting, and Destro says, I'm ultimately going to win, but we need to maybe work together for now. So there's kind of that going on. So we'll kind of see. We haven't really seen Cobra Commander really since the Cobra Commander miniseries, but that story is in the background. Like I said, I liked it a little bit better than the second, or I should say the first issue, because it's the second issue. But I think it gives me hope that it's moving forward. It is definitely moving forward. It gives me hope for okay, maybe I was a little harsh on the first issue. So we'll kind of see. Waters is a good writer. So like I said, I think the second issue definitely moved it forward better than I thought it would. And Bresson's artwork is nice. Like I said, it's not really a hard recommendation, but it's definitely improving, which is always a plus. As long as it doesn't get any worse, that's always a plus. Next up, we have Nightwing number 115, written by Tom Taylor, with artwork by Bruno Redondo. So we're at part 3 of 5 of the Fallen Grayson story, which is their final story arc. Sad. We're all sad. But what it is so Dick has been framed for framed as the Heartless. And so he escapes, and he goes to Nada Parbat temple that's up in the mountains or whatever. And so he meets Deadman Boston Brand, and to get his help, because we find out that this issue, that the reason he's scared of heights is Scarecrow gave him some fear toxin, and so it's been so embedded into him. That's why he's afraid of heights. So this is partially why he's going on the journey. Also, he needs to beat the Heartless. So that's kind of all what's going on. And then we have a surprise that I will not give away, but Bruce comes to Bloodhaven to help out. And that's all I'm going to say. That was a really nice twist at the end. I really like that. Once again, Taylor and Bruno have just knocked it out of the park on this book. I really love that they're doing a finale story, to kind of wrap up because the Heartless has been there for a long time. We just never noticed it for a long time. But, it's all been leading up to this final story. So, once again, these guys are just knocking it out of the park. I'm going to be very sad that this is the end of their run on the book, but it continues to be well worth picking up. I love this book, look forward to it, and it's just tough that there's only going to be 2 more issues of their storyline. Next up, we have Ultimate X-Men number 5, written and drawn by Peach Momoko. Almost screwed that up. So what it is Hiseko Armor. She was filmed, using her mutant powers. So now she's kind of all freaked out. And so her and May Storm go to Nico, who's a psychic, because during the fight they had this this amulet or this thing, and so they asked Nico to kind of find out about the Shadow, who is the villain, which we kind of don't know quite what's going on in that, but the Shadow ends up kind of attacking them, but they kind of beat it off, but it's still kind of a mystery what's going on. What I like that Momoko's doing here is really going for the long form story. Each issue is just kind of a snapshot of this really epic story that she's telling. And once again, what I'm really loving that she's doing with this Ultimate book is that she's really kind of deconstructing and then looking at how superhero books are. And that's what's amazing about this book is it's just so fresh and different take on superheroes. Yet it's very much superheroes, but yet it's very much not. And I do think that this book is, with this story arc, I think it's going to read really amazing when you read it in one shot. Although I do like it as a monthly book, I'm definitely continuing to get it. But it's really this is really a deep story and kind of a long, bit of a long haul, but in a good way. I like the fact that we just learn a little bit each issue, and and then her artwork is it's gorgeous. It's absolutely, it's such a great story and gorgeous artwork. It's definitely my favorite of the Ultimates. I mean, the other ones are, somewhat standard superheroes, but I like the fact that she's just going beating to a different drum with this book, both in story and art, because her art's amazing. And finally this week we have Man's Best number 5, written by Pornsak Pichot and artwork by Jesse Lonergan. Now, I was really behind. Last week I reviewed 4, which obviously I was really late on that one. So we have Athos, who's the cat. Porthos is one of the 2 dogs, and then Levy is the bulldog, the smaller of the 2. And so they've been on this journey to find Doc and Captain, and I don't want to explain too much, but it's, in a lot of ways, in some respects, this ending is very kind of 2001 in some respects, in the sense of this story has been building, and there is a huge twist in this issue. I'm trying to dance around it because I don't want to say anything, but we find out really what is behind Doc going, and really, without giving too much away, she's trying to save humanity. I'll leave it there. And what we find out is that there's kind of this alien race that is, you could kind of say they're making a decision what worlds live and what worlds die. I'm trying to dance around it, folks. And really, and it's interesting because, we find out that, all along that Athos has really kind of been the leader, kind of somewhat a reluctant leader she's been, but, and it's just really interesting. I love what, Pichot is doing here. It's one of those things I'm really excited to go back and reread it. I think it's going to, I've really enjoyed the series, but I think when you go back and reread it, knowing what you know with the ending, I think it's really going to kind of change some things, your perception of what you thought the story kind of was. And then Lonergan's artwork is really great. It has a bit of a, kind of a fairy tale, kind of kids book kind of look, which has really been perfect for the story, and kind of the, with the way he draws kind of these other dimensions and these other looking worlds has been really amazing. I really like this book a lot. Pichot and Lonergan have done a really great job. And like I said, I think it's going to be one of those books that you actually want to go back and reread, which is not always the case. I mean, even really good books, but when you go, I think in this case, when you go back and reread it with your knowledge of the ending, will kind of give you a different path than the original path, which the original path takes you to this ending. And then when you go back, you'll get the same path but with different thoughts. I really like this book. This was a real surprise. It's probably going to be hard to get the individual issues. I know that they'll do a trade of all the issues, when it, now that the 5th issue is out. So definitely when it comes out in trade, definitely check it out. I really enjoyed this book, and the ending really surprised me. That's been the great thing about this series. It's been really great twists and turns, nothing that you expected. And that was a really nice surprise. That's going to do it this week. As always, public service announcement. I get all my comics at Pulp Fiction Comics, Long Beach, California. Ryan Skinner, he's the owner, runs a really great store. And there's Annie, there's Wendy, there's Derek. Derek runs their socials. Check out their, they have the Facebook page for the store. They also have a Facebook group, for Pulp Fiction where, we all post stuff and news stories and fun stuff. And, they offer discounts on trades and graphic novels every day. They have a great manga selection. They have a great all ages section. He's really built up the all ages. He's got a really good LGBTQ section that is really he's had a lot of those books where he made a new section for it, and it's really a good solid story. If you're in the Long Beach, California area, definitely swing by and check it out. Say hi to Ryan from me. It's just a really good comic story, and as always, really support your local comic shop. It's really important. They're the real backbone of the industry. But make sure that you pick up your books on a timely basis because they have to pay for them before you do. So support your local comic shop as always. And we end our show with be kind. Please be kind to each other and be kind to yourself. I know the world's crazy right now. Let's be really honest. It's kind of nuts out there, but being kind to others and being kind to yourself doesn't cost anything, and really taking care of yourself is really important right now. Like I said, I know things seem really bad and it can get really depressing, but by taking care of yourself is very, very important. Just do the little things. Don't worry about the sometimes you can't do much about the big things, but just do little things that make you happy, and just be kind to others and be kind to yourself. So that's going to do it this week. But reminder, next week there's going to be no review video because I will be at San Diego Comic-Con. I will try to record as much of the chaos as I can. And definitely it's going to be it's going to be a big show this year after last year's strike that really kind of changed it. We do know about DC's doing a lot of announcements, so hopefully I'll be able to get into some of those panels and we can find out what's going on. But I think it's going to be a great show. I'm very excited, and looking forward to the Eisner Awards, which I'm part of the staff of. So that's always a great show. So once again, no review next week, and then hopefully we'll be able to catch those books up in the weeks afterwards. So that's going to do it this week. Thanks for watching. As always, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. It really helps. We've got a lot of great subscribers lately, a lot of new faces here. And thanks for joining the show. And share the video. It's always great. But again, thanks for watching. We won't see you next week. We'll see you the week afterwards with reviews. So anyways, take care of yourselves. Be kind to each other. And if you're going to San Diego Comic-Con and you see me, hey, give me a high five and a shout out. So take care of yourselves. We'll see you in 2 weeks because of Comic-Con. That's going to do it. This is Steven from Pop Culture Mavens signing off this week. Take care of yourselves, folks. Bye-bye.